Welcome to Modern Metal Madness. Today I'm going to be discussing the new Unleash the Archers album, Abyss. Abyss is the 5th studio album from these Canadian power metal gods, and I think it's wunderbar. They've been slowly but surely getting better with each release going back to 2009, and after my second listen of this album, I can say that this is their best one to date. This is a concept album that continues their D&D campaign, the story of the Matriarch, that was first introduced on their previous album, Apex. In preparation for this review, I went back and listened to Apex, and it still holds up phenomenally. In terms of musical direction, Abyss is definitely a departure from Apex, but in the same way Apex was a departure from Time Stands Still. This is a band that is taking the next evolutionary step, and the result is a much more polished, synth-heavy album that sometimes borders on being poppy. Then again, power metal has always leaned towards the accessible, poppy side of the metal spectrum, so I don't really see anything wrong with it. The important thing is they took this direction without sacrificing their metallic edge that has carried them for the past 13 years. You may think they haven't with all these keyboards and lead singer Brittany Slayes' mostly restrained vocal delivery, but when you take a step back and look at the album as a whole, you can definitely tell that they still kick plenty of ass. In terms of individual performances, it's about what you'd expect from these guys, except for Brittany, whose vocal style is very different from previous albums. While Brittany does have some soaring vocal moments throughout, she is a lot more restrained overall. Her delivery is much more subdued and somber. And while that might alienate some fans who were expecting nothing but screeching falsetto, she does very well with this darker style of singing. At some point, her vocals are so soothing that you actually want to fall asleep. Not because you find her boring, but because she is so hypnotic on this album that she makes you forget you're a bitter old fart who's single and lives with his parents. Brittany is part of this huge influx of female vocalists in metal, and along with Tatiana from Ginger, Brittany is at the absolute top of this modern matriarchal metal revolution. Her presence on this album is dominating, and she has more than established herself as one of the best lead singers in all of music today. Abyss was a big change of direction for her, but in the same way British Steel was a big change of direction for Rob Halford. She's definitely in her prime right now, and hopefully her voice can age like fine wine, instead of aging like Vince Neil. As far as the rest of the band goes, drummer Scott Buchanan holds the beat down, and while he isn't exactly Chris Adler or George Callias, he plays to the music wonderfully, and you couldn't imagine the drums being played a different way. Guitarists Andrew Kingsley and Grant Truesdell deliver some killer riffs and shred some absolute blistering solos on tracks like Soulbound, the title track, and Faster Than Light. Faster Than Light might be the best song on the album. The guitars come at you at supersonic speeds and lead into an absolute wail by Brittany. It's fast-paced as hell, and even at this tempo, they do not sacrifice their sense of melody, as Brittany's vocal delivery during the chorus can almost move you to tears. The breakdown and bridge is one of the biggest highlights of this album, as we hear a wonderful sweeping solo followed by some thundering screams courtesy of Matriarch Slayes herself. It is an absolute banger of a song and will hopefully become a live staple for the band. While Faster Than Light is my favorite song on Abyss, there is a lot of very stiff competition throughout the album. Soulbound is another fast-paced basher that'll add to their collection of hits. The Wind That Shapes the Land is a great multi-layered epic reminiscent of old-school metal tunes like Maiden's Alexander the Great or Halloween's Halloween. And Afterlife is a goosebump-inducing anthem that ends the album with you wanting more. Of course, I have to bring up the title track. The song Abyss was the first single released for this album about 2 months ago, and I remember absolutely adoring the song on first listen. The way the keyboards come in and set up the song with Brittany's ever-rising screams absolutely gets you hyped. The song was a great way for the band to introduce us to the album 2 months ago, even if the video was the most power metal video to ever fucking power metal. So on that note, let's talk about some negatives. In terms of originality and breaking new ground in metal, that is the furthest thing from Abyss. There's really nothing they do here that power metal bands even from 30 years ago weren't doing. The keyboards, the epic sing-along choruses, the varying tempos, and the soaring vocals are all things we've been hearing since the dawn of this subgenre. Some of the lyrics are a big reflection of this too. Can you be more power metal? On the flip side of that though, the band executes it so well that you don't really care. It's like they know they're a conventional power metal band and they absolutely embrace it. So even though it's nothing we haven't heard before, I can easily forgive it because this band does it so well. One thing I can't forgive though are the two songs that I'd consider fillers. Those being Through Stars and Carry the Flame. They almost feel like Europe songs, and it's the only times on this album that I can actually feel the band just going through the motions. The weakest point on this album would be Kingsley's vocals on Carry the Flame. It absolutely takes me out of the song, which wasn't really a great song to begin with, and brings it to a near 2000s post-grunge territory. I thought I was listening to the lead singer of Volbeat for a moment, and sounding like Volbeat is absolutely never a good thing. Ever. That being said, those are really minor nitpicks that don't really ruin the overall experience in any way, as there is so much to love about this album. Unleash the Archers have become one of the biggest names in modern metal, and even though Abyss has a few fillers, they've delivered yet another kick-ass record that'll go down as one of the best power metal albums of the last 20 years. I would absolutely recommend Abyss to anybody, metalhead or not. Alright, thanks for watching. Be sure to like me on Tinder and subscribe to my OnlyFans, and look forward to next week when I tackle Metallica's new live album, S&M 2. Later.